After watching this episode, I am convinced that Grace is in fact the star of Big Sky and not Cassie or Jenny, because she's the one that has the most interesting storyline. She's the one that has the coolest sort of action scenes and does the most. Still, we're 3 episodes in, and I feel Cassie is being short-ended. I don't think she's getting enough screen time or enough character development. She's supposed to be the star of the series, and right now I'm not feeling it. Like, as I said, Grace to me is sort of the star right now. She's been for the last couple episodes, so I don't know. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. Before I go any further, welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian. I'm flying solo today. Spencer is sick and Larry's still not watching the show, so it's just me. I'm gonna, so this should be shorter. At least I think it'll be. I'm just gonna go through the things I enjoyed, the things I didn't, and say where I think the series possibly is going. So if you've not hit the sub button, please do so. We're almost at 300. Obviously, we're trying to hit that 1,000 mark. That's a goal of ours. We appreciate, I say the last month we've had, a massive boom on the channel, and, we really appreciate that with, those of you who've been watching Big Sky, The Undoing. We have a lot of content planned. We're going to be doing Your Honor starting this Sunday. That'll run, I believe, for like 10 weeks. We are going to be doing The Stand, which starts in a couple of weeks, I believe. And we're going to continue to do The Mandalorian. We will do WandaVision in January. So there's a lot of content coming to the channel. So, hit the sub button, hit the thumbs up, and leave a comment. We always like hearing your feedback. So going back to Grace, she definitely, I thought, had the most interesting storyline this week. She escapes, using sort of, she has all these different skills. We know she reads a lot. She's really well educated, and she knows how to use, I guess, shoestrings. She sort of MacGyver's a method of escaping the handcuffs and then getting out of the shipping container. This leads to her digging a hole, realizing sort of that there's water flowing, and that means, there has to be it has to be going somewhere. So she digs down, falls into the sewer, and then we get our sort of comic relief of, which I didn't see coming. I thought it was quite funny when Ronald fell through the floor and into the sewer as well. We're treated to, so basically a Shawshank Redemption sequence in which Grace is crawling to her freedom. There's even the reference of freedom on the other side when Rick Legowski shows up. I'll get to Rick in a minute. But Ronald's trying to crawl through the tunnel. Grace gets through, and then it collapses. So that was a big positive thing about this week's episode, is there was a lot of unpredictability. There were a lot of crazy things happening. That whole sequence, from even Ronald falling down to the tunnel collapsing, didn't see any of that coming. Didn't know that was going to happen, and that led to just more excitement, because I just didn't know what was going to happen next. So he's not sure if she's dead or not. Obviously she's not, but Rick ends up coming in shortly after this. Now, Rick's already had a couple scenes at this point. Rick Legowski, the episode is titled The Big Rick. It is next to Grace. It's sort of his episode as well. Those are the two main characters. I'm saying it now. We're 3 episodes in, but Grace and Rick Legowski are sort of the 2 leads at this point for me. Cassie and Jenny are there, but they're not really doing a whole lot. Now, maybe that's going to change as, we get going here, but there's only, I believe, a couple more episodes before they take a break. I don't know if they're going to be able to establish Cassie or Jenny in that amount of time. I believe the break's going to be maybe 5-6 weeks. It's going to be until, I believe, the end of January. But right now, the most interesting characters are definitely Grace and Rick Legowski, and they have sort of a feud. Now Cassie does have I'll just talk about Cassie real quick, because she only had a couple scenes. The big one was her feud with Rick. They had another exchange similar to what we got last week, where they just sort of a war of words, and he yet again brings up. Now, it wasn't him. I'm wrong. It was another character that brought up her quitting the academy. That keeps coming up, and I'm assuming that's a big part of the character, and we're going to get that answer at some point, but up until now, we really haven't. Now, I know this is based on a book series. I've not looked up spoilers, or I don't know anything about maybe it was a single book. I don't know. But I'm assuming that the whole academy thing is a major part of that character, because otherwise, why keep bringing it up? But yeah, that's about all we got as far as Cassie's character, and then her interaction with Jenny and Justin at the end, and she cried. And that was about it. But going back to Rick Legowski, he, sees that Ronald messed up yet again, and has to go search to see if, in fact, Grace did escape, which she did. We get a crazy sequence in which Grace finds a fisherman, and Rick kills him with a bow. He's very proficient with that bow. I don't believe he misses once. He fires 3 shots, and he hits all 3. 1 killing the fisherman, and then 2 shots into Grace's leg. So he's, skilled with that bow and arrow. Speaking of skilled, the only thing Ronald gets right ever is his ability to use a taser gun, because he screws up constantly. In this episode, he's covered in, mud or whatever was in that sewer water. But yet he is capable of using that damn taser gun. There's a point in which he goes into the storage locker, or whatever you want to call it, storage shed, and he gets punched. He does lose a tooth, but he's yet again able to dispatch Danny and Jerry with the taser gun. So, we basically have this weird sort of super villain dynamic between Rick and Ronald. Ronald's ability to use a taser gun and Rick's ability to wield a bow and arrow. But yeah, that's the only thing Ronald's good at. We also get a scene with Ronald and his mother at the beginning. It's very brief, not a whole lot to it, which I prefer. I don't want a whole lot of Ronald and his mother. This episode, literally, it's just one scene, and I think one scene is good enough. But yeah, Rick is able to retrieve Grace, get her back, and I think the most interesting part of that whole sequence, not only his skills with a bow, but the fact that he has no idea what to do next. Ronald asks him, what's the plan? He said, I don't know. Who is he taking orders from, or is he taking orders from anybody? How I still don't quite understand the structure of this criminal enterprise. I don't know how things work. Rick has these 3 women that he can't do anything with, and he doesn't know what he's going to do with them. He doesn't know if he's going to kill them or what. He basically said, leave some food for them and we'll see what happens. So, what exactly is the structure of this? Now, we get introduced to a new character, the head of this church, the Church of Glory and Transcendence. Jenny heads over, Jenny Hoyt, who was married to Cody, Ryan Felipe, who's, killed at the end of the first episode. She heads over to this church. We don't get much. It's a very brief scene. We don't even get her walk through the church. She basically shows up. She has 2 or 3 minute conversation about, looking for the girls and how, angry and frustrated she is that no one seems to be helping. And that's it. She says, can I, look at the security cameras? Can I walk around? And the guy's just like, yeah, sure. Now, we're led to believe that the church is affiliated with Rick and Ronald's organization or whatever. I guess that's the case. I mean, is that guy that we were introduced to the one running everything? I don't know. I sort of hope not, because he didn't seem that interesting from that one particular scene, but, I'm assuming we'll get more later. But yeah, who is the one in charge? Because as it stands, Rick is basically the one calling all the shots, at least in terms of controlling Ronald's actions. And I am curious to where that's going to potentially go. We also have, we don't have a whole lot of Danny this episode. I've been complaining about the character the last couple of weeks. Still, she's not done anything to impress me. She has a little back and forth with Jerry this week, and we get a little backstory about Jerry and her being abandoned by her family because she's trans, and her being on her own since she was 14. But Danny, even during that scene and the other couple scenes she was in, I don't know, she just comes off as annoying to me. There's a line where she says, they're talking about Grace, and she's like, I got the looks and she got everything else. The way she said that annoyed me. I don't know. Danny still is a character that I'm not into. That still could change. We'll see. But as it stands, my list last week is pretty much the same. My favorite characters are Grace, Jerry, and Rick Legowski. I think he still holds as the most interesting character. Ronald, I keep calling him pathetic. That holds true to this episode, although I enjoyed it a little more. Because of the comedy aspect, him falling and just failing at every turn, with the exception of that damn taser gun. So, my feelings as far as how I feel about the characters hasn't changed a whole lot. I really, really hope, I said it last week and I'm saying it now, please have more Cassie. Clearly they want her to be the central character, but they're not giving her enough screen time, and I don't understand it. The show, each episode clocks in at, around the 45-minute mark. Take away the ending and opening recap, so it's probably about 42 minutes. And in that amount of time, I think there should be more dedicated to the character of Cassie. And so far, there just hasn't been. But with that said, I was entertained. That's the thing. The show moves at a very quick pace. It's not that long, each episode. And I was entertained. So as I said last week, I'm going to continue with the show until it has its break. Will I continue the show after the break? That'll completely depend on how this next couple episodes end. Because my assumption is they're going to have some kind of big twist at the end of, I think it's 2 weeks from now. I'm not completely sure when the break is, but whatever the episode is before the break, I'm assuming there's going to be a big twist that's going to sort of try and hook you to come back, 5-6 weeks after for the continuation of the show. I think it's only a 10 episode run total. And of course, I'm sure if it does well, they'll probably, try and pick it up for a second season. Not sure how the ratings have been since episode 1. I know the first episode's ratings were decent, but not sure about 2, and I have no idea about this particular episode. Let me see, checking my notes. Yeah, that's about it. That's about all I have to say. Like I said, a lot of my feelings are very similar to what they've been over the last couple weeks. And hopefully they'll correct the amount of screen time we're getting with specifically Cassie. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. Are you still into the show? I've talked to a few people about the show, and like I said, Larry is just not digging it. But I've talked to some people who are really enjoying the show. So there's a lot of mixed opinions. It's entertaining to me. It moves by at a quick pace. It's not long, and Rick Legowski is entertaining. I like the character. I don't know. He's funny to me. He's a good villain. He's a good guy to root against, basically. And I think he's been doing a good job. And Grace has proven to be a great protagonist. I'm really enjoying her character. Though that leg wound is definitely going to be, I'm sure, a factor into the story here. There's definitely going to be some issues with infection and other things, especially if they're just going to leave her in there for several days. Those are pretty bad wounds. So I'm sure that'll play into the story directly. So yeah, that's my thoughts for this week's Big Sky, episode number 3. As I said, I will be reviewing it next week. Hopefully Spencer will be back. As I said, he is sick. We have the Mandalorian review coming up in a couple of days, and like I said, Your Honor will be starting on Sunday. So sorry that it was just me and didn't have a back and forth conversation like we typically do on here. Hope you enjoyed what I had to say, and like I said, leave a comment and let me know what you agree or disagree with. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.